I was busy doing acrylic paintings, and I'm just about done with the 4 paintings behind me. And on that side behind me, you can see my top part of my cupboard filled with sketchbooks, and that's what we're talking about today. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Tanya, and I'm an artist, designer, and also art teacher, and I studied art therapy. So let's get to the sketchbooks, because that's why you're here, right? So on my surface I have my paints from the acrylic painting I was busy with. I'm just going to take the paint out of the way and bring the sketchbook closer. The first sketchbook I'm going to show you is one from last year. And what happened was we moved from Perth to Victoria. And while we were on the road, I finished the last pages in the sketchbook. So I'll share that with you. Let me just get there. Okay, so this was the last one I did for 2019, and then decided to, oh, are you guys upside down? Looks like it. Let's get you right side up then. Okay, that's better. So many new things to learn. Okay, so that was the last one for 2019. And this one I did straight after that. See how silly. I drew in a giraffe, and there are no giraffes in Australia. Well, none that I've seen. And I just drew a sky scene with a tree I loved. I used to walk past this tree quite often. Okay, so we lost connection for the for the Facebook Live. But I decided to go on anyway and record what I wanted to say, and I'll post it a little bit later. So where we were at the ocean scene, and I brought in some metallics to show that sparkle on the water just as the sun was hitting it while it was going down. I found that to be so beautiful, and I didn't expect to get this effect with metallics, but I quite like it. Definitely be trying that again. And then just fiddling around trying to map out some colors, and I was trying a new gel pen. Can you see the texture there? Like there. I have to say I was quite disappointed because it turned pale and blended into the background indigo color and didn't stay white. So it picked up some of that underneath pigment and merged into the white gel pen. But still, it gives a nice effect. This was at the parking at Wanneroo Botanical Gardens. This was in Yanchep National Park. This was just an imaginary scene I saw in a movie that I just captured. This was the first night on the road as we went to, or when we started our traveling. So there was still a lot of trees and this really warm, rich red sand. It was just beautiful. I had to capture it somehow. Then there was this old mangled tree, and it reminded me of the Jupiter tree mythology. You can look that up yourself. And then just playing with layers of color and drawing eucalyptus leaves, while the tall thin ones, I don't know the species exactly. This was also from a movie, Rock, Land and Mountains. I wrote down here, but I can't remember the movie name. Can't recall. This was also just a little imaginary scene overlooking a lake onto the distant trees and hills with this beautiful morning sunrise. This is also the botanical gardens. Sometimes I skip pages and I don't know why. When I go back, I realize, oh, there's a blank page, and then I'll just fill it with something. These were just little studies of conceptual design, getting ideas down on where to place the focal point. I'll go over that in detail some other time. Alright, so these are scenes across the Nullarbor. And yes, we drove across the Nullarbor over a span of 7 days, exploring Australian countryside, or I don't know what you guys call it, the outback. But this was one night, and then it was right in the middle of the bushfires. And I remember seeing, it looked like a cloudy day, so everything was this dusty, pale colors, but it was also, some of it was burnt, and you could see it was burnt before. So the fires were extinguished in this area already, but everything looked ashy, you know, burnt and ashy, but it still made for a good, interesting scene. And I picked up some of the red on the sandy bits close to me, and then the further away scenes with some cloudy skies, again across the Nullarbor, and you can see the landscape gets flatter and flatter and paler as we go on. And then of course the big bite, which we couldn't see because it was on the 26th that we crossed over there, 26th of December, and they were closed, the gates were closed, we couldn't go in and we couldn't see. So I googled what it looked like from the sky and then just painted that, because I wanted a scene from there in my sketchbook. Okay, so now every now and then I buy a new sketchbook and I randomly start things in there. I don't have any themes in my sketchbooks. I paint what I want to, or what I feel inspired to paint. I also let my daughter paint in my sketchbooks too, because that way it doesn't seem so precious. This sketchbook's paper is quite interesting. It is a paper mold sketchbook. See, paper mold. And you can get them at Riot Arts and Crafts for I think $29, which is a bargain for this type of sketchbook. It's slightly larger than the moleskin, and I'm still discovering whether I like the paper or not. It's different on both sides. So the one side will sort of let the pigments lie on top of it, and the other one will soak it in, it will sink into the paper. This one I started early 2020, that's why I made it 2020, and I was just looking at our new landscape, trying to find my way and seeing where there's more things to be seen, since I haven't been in Victoria before. These are some layered flowers. Now you can see the effect clearly here. See how funny this looks on the opposite side. It's as if the paper has pores and the pigment sits inside the pores and then on top as well. Where this side, which is the right hand side of the sketchbook, which I assume will be the side they want you to draw and paint on. See how it melts into the paper like watercolor paper should do? Either way, I use both sides. Sometimes just play around and discover new things or make patterns. This was my color swatches for 2020. I used several of these in designs and discovered some new favorite colors as well. Yes, if you look through magazines and designs and conceptual art, you'll also see a lot of these colors shine through. These are all watercolors taken from my palette. I mix them myself, and this is just an old pencil case that I stuck my half pans in that have a magnet so they don't fall out when I move, because I take this with me on my sketchbook travels. I'll show you how I work. So that will fit into that elastic, and I'll carry it like this, and the water brush is also on the inside, and sometimes I have my water soluble pencils in here as well. I took them out, they're somewhere else now. So the reason why I wanted to share this with you today is there's still a few pages in the sketchbook left, and there's not a lot of time left for this year. So this is what's left in the sketchbook, and I want to fill them up before the end of the year. And I want to do that outside of my house because some of the restrictions are lifting now and we have access to the outdoors. So I want to have a little mini palette and either take my travel brush that I can undo and then have in a smaller container or inside my pocket. But my favorite thing to take with on sketching outdoors are my water brushes. Don't know if you can see the water in there, and can be quite wet. There we go. And you also have smaller ones. Don't have a small one right here right now. Sorry. I take one that's been filled with ink. So on a little swatch, let me just show you how that works. So instead of water, you have ink in here. And for an urban sketcher filling a sketchbook, this is amazing. The ink I've got in this one is sepia. It is not a permanent ink, it is water soluble, so when I go into that with water it will dissolve. Now I like using this especially when I do landscape scenes in a monotone, because this can go light if you thin it down, and it can go really dark when you add a concentrated amount. So you get all the variations and shades in there from just this one water brush with ink. And this isn't concentrated ink. I took one of the cartridges, squeezed it out in here, and then filled it up 3/4 of the way with purified or distilled water, just because I don't want any water contaminants getting onto my pages and causing mold or some or other disgusting thing in my sketchbooks. I always use clean water for my water brushes. Okay, so discovering what colors I like to take back as part of, take with me as part of the fun. And I have a little container here. I think I got some sewing pins in it. You can use one like that. You can use one like this. Just want to get the sketchbook out of the way. I did that a while ago just to see how the colors would play before I started the experiment. take a few pieces of paper. There's a smooth and a cold press, hot press, cold press. And I know it's not the paper that's inside my sketchbook, but it's for color discovery. And I want to take a blue because there's a lot of sky colors that I need to put into my paintings. But I was wondering if I shouldn't take like a turquoise instead of a ultramarine. Let's see how dark that one can go. Oh, nice. Alright, I think I'll take that one. And I didn't want to choose from a bigger palette simply because now these ones have magnets under for the metal tin, but I'm still going to use them in there because the double-sided tape, even though they advertise it as this super hold thing, I can promise you it comes off quite easily. Okay, a warmer color. Maybe go for a bright red. I could change my mind. Also want to see how that plays. Sorry for the noise, I can't control my neighbors, and it's lawn day for them, it seems. Let's try and see if we can close a window and a door. Alright, is that better? Maybe a little bit. I quite like this bright red. I believe it is cadmium red, this one, cadmium red deep hue from Cotman's. I like that. It's kind of cool. You know what I mean? A cool tone. It's not a warm red, it's a cool red. Okay, so definitely sticking to that one. What about... Well, I need to mix some greens as well, but I don't want to take a bright yellow. Maybe yellow ochre. I wonder if that's not going to make like a kid's coloring book green. Wonder what this would look like. Oof. This is also supposed to be a ochre. I got it from a friend in South Africa who was throwing out some of his old paints, and the label just said yellow ochre deep. But now if you hold that against the yellow ochre that came in the Pebeo set that I have here, it doesn't look like ochre. So I don't know if that was a misprint or somebody put the wrong sticker on. But anyway, let's see if we can get a nice green from that. Yeah, that's better. I don't like the coloring book green, so let's use that one then. And do I need another color? I've already got a blue. And that looks much darker in there than it is on the paper. Okay, we're going to take this brush with anyway. That's a good selection, I think. We'll have some nice darks to play with. I like that. Oops. I just had a reminder about my art class in 30 minutes time, so I better wrap this up. Okay, I'll take a couple of more minutes just to show all of these things to you. So again, one side I'm going to use to stick down the paint, and the other side will be available for a little bit of water. So when you're outside painting, you can hold your sketchbook and your paint, and then, you know, paint and water and paint. And then what I do is I just have a tissue stuck in there, held onto the side like that. So there you go, paint's in there, water in there, tissue there, sketchbook here. Quite easy. I learned how to do that. It didn't come naturally in the beginning. I struggled a little bit, but I also didn't want to haul around a easel and a chair and loads of extra things. So, because I like the hiking experience as well, but I'd like to sit down every now and then and draw something or paint something. And for that, I needed to be as portable and lightweight as possible. Okay, so let's get this party started. Just a little strip. Take off your, oops, take off the protective plastic and stick it out. I like that. I wonder if I shouldn't just take a little bit of yellow. I'm going to take a lemon yellow, simply because I need that lighter shade somewhere, and especially in sky scenes or the little highlight bits on a tree, you might want to get them nice and bright. So I know this looks like a primary palette with a deep ochre, but that's okay because you and I both know that you can mix any color from a primary palette. And that's the idea here, is to get your favorite blue, your favorite red, your favorite yellow, and one extra color to take with and to play with while you're out sketching. So just to demonstrate how easy it is to work with this little palette, let's get some water in. Oh, and I take a spritzer bottle like this, or I'll just canteen some water out from my drinking bottle. That's purified water anyway. So you have a little bit of water in there. Wet your palettes. Now you can't close this with the water in there. Your paint will go soggy and awful. So you've got a little mixing surface there. You can rinse it in there. I'm just in the studio, so it's force of habit to go to the water container on the table. I don't know how many of you have gone urban sketching, but you don't actually rinse off your brush that often because you reuse what's in the brush to continue your painting. That spontaneous blend of colors is exactly what makes your painting interesting and helps you discover new things that you didn't know you could do. I quite like that. Right, and when you're done, ready to pick up, just take your little paints and pour the water out on the ground. Pretend that's the ground, and then I dry it off with my tissue, wipe out the color, and just soak up a little bit of that moisture in there because you don't want it dripping all over the place. And you're ready to go. You can stick this in your pant pocket and travel. You can even fill this with all the colors you like, that side and this side, because as you'll see, you'll be able to fit more colors in on that side. It's wide enough. So I hope I've shared something with you that's valuable today and that you would like to go urban sketching. I might add a few more colors. We'll see. I'll take you on some of my excursions as the weeks go by, because that is the plan for the next few live sessions. And until I can figure out how to use the zoom button without having it on auto zoom, I think we'll just go with recordings and then uploading them later. Hopefully on the same day. So get your little palettes together and let's go paint outside.